Okay, I'm going to start off with a fascinating, disjointed halacha. And I think I said over once in this shir, there was a very famous tzaddik, a Talmud of the Chafetz Chaim. His name was Rabbi Segel, who was a yeshiva in Manchester. You know what I'm talking about? What? Okay, Rabbi Segel was a interesting fellow. He was a big tzaddik, and he was very makpid on certain hanhagos. One of his hanhagos was that anything that he wore on Shabbos, he never wore it during the week. All of his Shabbos begadim were for Shabbos only. To the point that he one time went away someplace for Shabbos, and he found out on Shabbos he has to stay there for a chasana. So he wore his Shabbos begadim on that Sunday. By the next Shabbos, he restocked for himself all of the Shabbos begadim. No, it's not like, okay, that, what are you laughing about? That's, now, that's one thing, a fascinating piece of information. There's the Vilna Gaon in a sefer called Ma'aser Rav, which is found inside the Siddur HaGra, or sometimes you can buy it as a separate sefer. There, in Hilchos Rosh Chodesh, it says the Vilna Gaon on Rosh Chodesh wore his Shabbos hat. And it says over there, the reason why he wore his Shabbos hat on Rosh Chodesh, because he held that covered Rosh Chodesh is Doraisa, and therefore he wore one of his big day Shabbos on Rosh Chodesh. Now the Mefarshim on the Ma'aser Rav, they're very concerned about, what happened to Rabbi Segel? Where'd he go? Right? Why? No. Why is it the Vilna Gaon is the one that says on Shabbos Chazayin that you wear your weekday clothes, right? So how could it be that on, how do these two things work out together? And there's all kinds of answers that are given to this question. But if you could wear your Shabbos clothes during the weekdays, what? Yeah. Yeah, so why should... No, because Shabbos Chazayin is also mitzvah covered Shabbos, right? There's also at least as much as if you can wear, right? Because there's a covered Rosh Chodesh, which is the Raisa. Covered Shabbos is also the Raisa, right? There's
a mitigating factor on Shabbos.
There is no mitigating factor. That's, you would say that the halacha of Shabbos should be doicha. Just like most people think, right? You can wear Shabbos begadim on Shabbos, right? And, okay, we'll just leave that as a fascinating...
I'll tell you a weird story.
Yeah?
In Munster, there's a guy who would come in on Shabbos, always be wearing a sweater. No suit, no jacket, no nothing. So I went to him and said, what happened? How come you're wearing a sweater? He said, that's because I wear a jacket and a tie during the week, whole week. I wanted to wear something different on Shabbos.
Okay. So that there's a famous story about one of the Rashivas of Torah Vadas, that on Shabbos he would wear a short jacket, and during the week he would wear a frock, a long jacket. Someone asked him why. He said, because that's my work clothes. Okay, but Echshahu, the concept is important that somebody should have something special for Shabbos, and there is a Magen Avram over here which is of interest, and there's a Mishnah Berurah which goes together with it, which I would like to share. The Mishnah Berurah is Mem Daled. Okay. No, Tavkuf Nun Aleph, Mishnah Berurah Sifkat Mem Daled. Let's see the halacha. Kelim Chadoshim, Ben Levanim, Ben Shavuim, Ben Shal Tzem, Ben Shal Pishtan, also little Rosh B'Shabbos. You're not allowed to wear these begadim. Now, we mentioned last week the concept of the question of if you can't wear laundered clothes, so why should you be able to wear new clothes? And we discussed that a little bit. I'm just going to share with you that there are those who say that if your new clothes still have some kind of a newness to them, then you can't wear them even though they're not fresh. In other words, you have a new shirt. If you wash it once or twice, it still looks like a new shirt. Maybe after 30 washes, it doesn't. But this is some that are busy with this concept, and whatever. There's all kinds of ways. Different things have their.
A lot of clothes don't get comfortable, so you wear them a few times.
Okay, but I'm just saying the fact that you can tell the difference if it's new or not new is not necessarily dependent on wearing it once or not. And this is a subject which is of great importance in halacha, because according to some, you can make a shechianu as long as it's still new. And according to others, if you just wore it for a little bit, even though it's still new, you could wear it in the 9 days. Right? In other words, this halacha has many different sides to it. Okay? Okay. Now, we're going to see Siv Zayin. Okay, Yesh Amir she'also l'sakim begadim chadashim u'minalayim chadashim b'shabazu. Now, shoes have a particular fascinating place in halacha. First, I'll share with you, there's a Yerushalmi, a fascinating Yerushalmi, that says there's no such thing as Shabbos shoes. Okay? And the Yerushalmi, a person who wears clothing is l'kavod l'tifares. I don't know how you translate that into English exactly, but I'm sure everybody here knows what those words mean. And shoes are protect your feet, that they shouldn't get damage from walking on them.
The circumstance have changed a lot since then. We have paved sidewalks, we have many kinds of shoes.
Well, let's say you're right. What does that have to do with what I'm talking about?
Why do you Charlie think it's just for protection? Now it's...
The Yerushalmi wasn't today. I don't understand what you're talking. It has nothing to do with what I'm discussing. You have a question if, the shoes, I would like to see you walk around barefoot, okay?
You don't want to see that.
No. The Yerushalmi, in the Yerushalmi's days, shoes were a tool.
Right.
Nowadays, though, shoes are
also the exact same thing.
Also.
No, they are. They also have some kind of a style to them.
To it, so I don't have to walk.
Okay. That's the first thing I just want to say, that even though they're not begadim, therefore they need to have a special place, and you're not supposed to wear new shoes at this time, even though you don't make a shechianu. Generally speaking, people say you're allowed to wear new clothing in 3 weeks if you don't make a shechianu on it, and new shoes would be included in that. In the 9 days, the halacha is different. Why? Because anything which gives you even a small amount of simcha, that's already enough. And there's a very important Mishnah Berurah over here. Sha'asol l'saken, ritzallah sha'asol lasas begadim chadashim. V'chein ampolia shekarin zakin, asol la'areg. You're not allowed to make new socks. Okay? Okay. Now, I would just like to share with you a phone call that I had 2 days ago. And sometimes I get these phone calls and people ask me questions and I know the answer, but if you ask me to chapter, line, and verse it for you, I know I have to, it'll take me a while to get it. The person called me and asked me, what should I do? I don't have enough underwear for all of the 9 days. What should I do? So I said, buy more. That was my answer. Buy more. So he says to me, there's no heter to wash them? I said, why should there be a heter to wash them? So this guy tells me, there's all halachas, Prima Godim brings about kids who soil their clothing all the time, that you're allowed to wash their clothing. that they soil all the time, and underwear is something which people soil all the time. So maybe there's some kind of a heter for it. So I said, no such thing, and you have to buy new. And the guy was very disturbed.
We're going to heter some boy has one baguette or something.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Okay, he was very disturbed at my abrupt answer to him. After I got off the phone, I decided I'm going to revisit the question. And I went to look around about this, and the answer to the question is, I'm going to share with you something which Peretz is going to say, that's not the way it is nowadays. Why is it that you're not allowed to wash clothing in the 9 days? I would have thought that should be dafka, something that you should do. It brings you to Avelis, right? It does it make you happy to wash clothing?
No.
So why is it also?
Not supposed to wear fresh clothing.
I didn't ask you that. I said, why am I not allowed to wash?
The act of washing or the wearing of fresh clothing?
The act of washing. Okay, the answer to the question is the act of washing is called a hesach hadas from Avelis. Now, that needs to have some kind of explanation given to it. And
Why more than any other word?
I'll answer that question to the best of my ability. I think that the work of washing your clothing, you are working to improve your state. You know, if I'm doing work, whatever the work is, that's not improving my personal state. A person who's washing clothing, well, just like you understand, wearing fresh clothing there's a certain hanot to that, right? Washing your clothing is being involved in something which gives you that end result. And therefore, it's also to be done. And I would just like to mention there are poskim who are concerned that maybe this halacha shouldn't be relevant today. Why? That's a question. That's a question or that's an answer? What?
On Friday, it's a header. That it's not called doing laundry, it's called pushing a button. That's a lot of people say on Friday, the Xer doesn't exist, that was laundry. Nowadays, pushing a button.
Okay. And does that have any relevance to what we're talking about now?
You're explaining of why it causes hesach hadas? No. What I would have thought before I walked in here, I absolutely.
Okay. No, it's not the involvement, it's the concept of what you're doing. Right? That's what I'd like to say, and therefore, I think that it's usher to be done. Now, there are poskim who say that therefore, better to buy than to wash. Now, if you have nothing to wear, if a person has nothing to wear, even if he's an oval, a real oval, the halacha of kavod abrius will overcome the halacha of washing because, you have to exist. That's but that doesn't mean that it's mutter. It's usher, you're just allowed to do it.
Isn't going out to buy them a hesach hadas?
I just want to share something with you. I would say for most people, buying underwear is as interesting as buying nails.
That's not about interesting.
No, nails.
Laundry's not interesting either, but it's the hesach hadas.
No, there are certain things which you buy that they are for you an upgrade in life, and there are certain things that you buy that are just like, you're allowed to buy milk. Why are you allowed to buy milk?
You have to eat.
Do you think that's the reason why? I don't think that's the reason why. I don't think there's any problem.
What if there's a sale in milk and I get 25 milks because there's a sale?
There was never any. That has nothing to do with the question.
No, then it's an upgrade.
It's not an upgrade.
It's a safe. I don't know.
Go to Oshad for 2 hours. That's not a hesach hadas. Definitely a hesach hadas.
The ASIC that you're being ASIC in is not something which is there to upgrade you. I go to Osher Ad to replenish my Tesla. I don't know, whatever you go to usher on for nowadays. You can buy yourself your car there. But I'm not right now discussing what people go to usher on for. But you go to usher on to replenish the things that you have in your house more or less in abundance. You're not getting anything new in usher on, right? You're getting, you're buying a new detergent and you're buying a new oil and your new chicken. You're not, and I don't think anybody gets excited over a new chicken, right? That's not, it doesn't, I'm talking about not one that's a pet. I'm talking about one that's in a frozen, okay?
You're as excited shopping as doing laundry, at least.
I don't think
I
that,
don't understand what the difference is.
I made it very clear. Laundry, you're doing something so that you should be in a certain state afterwards. And that's what I believe, that's the problem.
Your house is replenished. Hashem is filled up your fridge.
What was it? Kashur.
Upgrade. I always.
That's not upgrades. You are the same place as you were before. You just have a bill to pay in the credit card company. That's all.
And you have the same place and you have clean clothes.
No, but having clean clothes and wearing clean clothes is something which gives a person honor. So they say that eating food also gives you honor. No, but that's something which a person does as part of your existence. Okay, this is how I understand it.
It's kind of like an voda that I needed to it's over and don't have to do that anymore. That's the laundry.
No, the laundry, your shopping is a chore. Okay, there are people who go window shopping. That is not a question of a chore. That's just wasting your time. Basically, that's a totally different subject, and that's a subject maybe we should discuss if that's permissible or not. But the Pasha says that's permissible. I'm not going to get involved in that subject right now. But laundry is something which I understand. The purpose of it has a upgrade to you, and therefore it's forbidden. But other things that there's nothing to them, I think that it's generally permissible to be done. Now, anything which gives you any kind of even a small upgrade, even buying new socks or new underwear, I'll put them in the same category. The poskim say that they should not be being bought in the 9 days. I'm just saying that if you're in a situation where you ran out, better buy than to wash. That's what most of the poskim say. All right?
If a person finds that he has no kinnis, I'm assuming it's much to buy kinnis.
Yes, that's true. Not only that, Rav Moshe Feinstein has a tshuva which is a bit strange to me. He says you're allowed to buy Tisha B'Av shoes in the 9 days. So kol shekela kinnis. Okay, and I would say kinnis. Somebody asked me, actually someone from the shul called me today. Their mother-in-law lives here, and her son is coming from Chutz La'aretz in the 9 days, and she wants to buy him a sefer. Could she buy her son a gift, a sefer, when he comes? So I told the person, according to the Mishnah Berurah, there's no isser to give presents in the 9 days. There's only an isser to give presents on Tisha B'Av. Mishnah Berurah says you're not allowed to give presents on Tisha B'Av, so technically it's permissible. There are people who don't do it because we don't involve ourselves in anything which gives us some kind of simcha. But technically, there's no problem in doing that. Okay, but anything which you're buying that has some kind of a aspect to it of simcha, that should be avoided in the 9 days. I don't think that milk is included in that. We're talking about durable items that people wear that are new, okay?
I thought that you're not wearing newly laundered undergarments in these 9 days is a chumrah. The halacha is on outer garments. Maybe I misunderstood things. I thought it's because of the climate.
Well, if, that last statement and your first statement are totally opposite. What is the basic halacha? If a person learns hilchas avelis, you'll find out that the basic halacha is that you're not allowed to wear anything. Not only that, you're not to change anything, okay? Yeah, the heter that you'll find in the Mishnah Berurah is for Shabbos Chazon, you're allowed to change your undershirt. That's it. Okay? Now, we live in a generation that many poskim say that there are different ways of saying it. That some people say that we're all istinisin and therefore it's permissible, but that doesn't change the halacha. No, the halacha is still the same. The halacha is that istinis is allowed to, but it doesn't change the halacha. The halacha is that your undergarments should not be changed. Now, I'll just tell you I know this sounds probably quite amazing to many of you. I would imagine that all the people here, they don't change their undergarments before the 9 days to prepare them. Rabbi Yashiv holds you have to. And I know people who do that, okay? And if you look in Hilchos Avelis and you learn over here, that's more or less what comes out. The accepted opinion of most of the poskim that we follow is that either it's not talking about our situation or we're in istanis and therefore it's permissible to be done. And I would just like to mention a different subject which has to do with these halachas in general. I'm not sure. I just want to tell you something.
So people have that rolling around in the clothes thing.
I want to tell you something. I don't really understand what you're talking about. In Shulchan Aruch, where it speaks about the poskim that speak about putting it on the floor and getting it dirty, they weren't talking about putting it on your fleshly sponged floor, No, I want to ask you a question. After you're all finished with it, how clean, how dirty is it? I want to know, can I take that clothing and hold it up to another one out of the closet and tell the difference?
If you drag it along the floor with the house with children, it could get a little dirty.
I asked you a question. What people are doing.
You can see it, but it doesn't feel like fresh out of a laundry.
Yeah,
Yours is dragged off
take out the
dusty,
leg.
dirty, floor.
Doesn't have to drag it, you throw it on the floor and you pick it up.
That for sure. I'm talking about getting it a little dirty.
Okay, I just want to tell you something. Dirty and soiled mean two different things in today's terminology. And not only that, there are poskim who discuss this issue, and it's very relevant in the 9 days, if soiled and dirty are the same thing. What? A person wears clothing and you say your clothing is dirty. There's no stain on it. It's called soiled. Yeah, dirty means you got a stain on it. You have ketchup over here and mustard over here, and this side is milchik, this side is fleshik. That's called dirty. Okay? A person wears his garments and they're soiled. That's not the same thing. And there are Rishonim who make a very big difference about this. This is very nogeya in Hilchos Shabbos. Is machoikes Rishonim if you have soiled clothing and you wash them if you're over for washing clothing, because it's not dirty. Dirty that we're speaking about there is taking out a stain. But
What are you washing in the clothes? There's nothing there. It's just worn.
Okay, but there's no stain on it, right?
Right. So what are you doing?
I said sweaty.
You're cleaning off that sweat that's on it, right?
Like with water and stuff.
Yeah, I'm talking about your physical, it's fresh. You made it, you refreshed it, but there was no stain on it that you took off. It's two different things, and according to some Rishonim, there's no issur d'oraisa of cleaning soiled clothing on Shabbos. Okay, I'm not going to get involved in that. There are those who've written a lot on that subject. Okay, all right. The next thing which I would like to discuss is Sivches. Sivches is a fascinating halacha, and it's been taken by the Achronim out of proportion. I would like to see it inside. Nashi nahigi delo lemishtei pisha sadel arach achutim shalchem laorach shalabegim b'lashon shesi v'erev ve'imra demel av minhaga. That they don't set up the sewing apparatus. Why are those two things together? I'm not exactly sure. And has the same name. Okay. Okay. And to make baskets, that's also not a problem. Here is the isser of mending clothing. Mending clothing should not be done in the 9 days either. Okay, you know, you have a hem that fell down, anything like that, should not be done in the 9 days, even though this is speaking about something very specific in the cooking, in the sewing process. It doesn't mean everything, but still that the minig is to be careful about those things. If you don't have another parents, then you can, okay? Just like you can wash them. You can, you know, anything that's covered up. I just, when somebody tells me covered abrius,
Okay, I understand.
that's,
What if the work clothing as far as smells? That's very relevant nowadays.
what?
If the clothes smell,
That's called soiled clothing.
I'm saying, but as far as, is that a reason for someone to be changing it?
Yes, I think so. I'll just tell you when
I go on buses sometimes.
I'll just tell you the people that you go on the buses that you have problems sitting next to. After the 9 days, you'll have problems sitting next to them too.
For a day or two till they walk.
No, there are certain people that are not. Yeah.
It's much more. Sorry to say.
All right. I'm just telling that's. I'll just tell you that the poskim in America. I'll just share with you a fascinating thought. The poskim in America say you go to the mikveh here, and many of the mikvahs say you cannot go to the mikveh unless you take a shower before you go. Now, what happens in the 9 days? Are you allowed to take a shower before you go? So the poskim. Okay, wonderful. In America, the poskim say you're mechuyev to take a shower because of hazeka derabim. You can't go. You're going to ruin the mikveh for everybody else. So somebody one time asked me, you know, I understand that if you go to the mikveh at 6 o'clock in the morning, but the guy who goes to the mikveh on Erev Shabbos by lichtzin in time, the mikveh already is right. Yeah, not in Yerushalayim. I speak to many people. Okay, I'm just saying that even then there is an aspect of Hazeket Rabim, and this is, I think, it's very important. Any time where a person feels, I'll just tell you, when I was a bacher, I learned shchita during this time, and I took a shower every single day, and I changed my clothes because otherwise people would say, I think that I say moo. You know, it wasn't. It just wasn't. It wasn't good for the social interactions with people. A plumber, yeah. Okay. All right. I just would like to discuss Erev Shabbos Chazon, and I just want to share with you a fascinating machlokes. Halacha l'maisa. I get asked this question many times. Not right now discussing how many showers you're allowed to take in the 9 days. That's not my subject. A person on Erev Shabbos Chazon who comes to me and asks me the following question: what should I do? Take a shower in cold water with soap, or take a shower with hot water without soap? What should I do? Okay, I made the question up because I have an answer to the question. Okay, no, it's my answer to the question. Came, yeah, no.
With lukewarm water and soap.
What does that have to do with the question I asked?
I'm trying a middle ground here.
No, that doesn't answer the question. Okay, so in order to answer the question, you have to know what is the problem with hot water and what is the problem with soap. Are they born out of the same issue or not? And I would imagine that most people over here think that's all the same thing. I don't think that that's the case. The Isser, and Rabbi Elyashiv has a piece on this, which he's very strong about. He says the Isser of hot water, the Isser of washing without soap, the reason why it's better is because when you wash without soap, you don't get so clean. I think that we can all relate to that, okay? And the washing with soap does the job, okay? Now, the problem with washing with hot water, there's a different problem, that there's an aspect of hano. Person has hano from the hot water. So they're not addressing the same subject. And therefore, Rabbi Elyashiv holds you're better off taking a hot shower without soap, because if you need to take so you do what we call superficial cleaning. It doesn't do a great job, but it gets you that you're socially acceptable. All right, and the Chazon Ish held the other way around. The Chazon Ish held that better cold water and soap, because the reason that you're using soap is to get clean, right?
Why
Now,
is it relevant to Shabbos, though?
what?
Why is it specifically relevant to
No, I'm not discussing right now during the week. I'm discussing right now where this is Nogea all the time. Which one of the two is, which one of the two, in other words, I'm explaining each one has a different plus and a different minus.
And you're not talking about the Hano part, Erev Shabbos, you're supposed to take a hot shower, not the Hano. But the Hano part is supposed to be hot, no?
It's permissible to take a hot
Not
shower.
Chazon, stop. On a regular
Right.
Shabbos. So
You're a part of Raglu B'chamin.
right, so that's part of Shabbos preparation. Maybe that Hano will sidestep the coverage.
Okay, but that's not the okay. But the bottom line is, and I remember I have at home written on this. In my opinion, to clean yourself is the primary concern, and I just would just like to reiterate something which is obvious to most of you. I would say that most of us, the reason why we take showers is because we're dirty. We don't take showers as a treat, it's like a step up. You take a shower just like you wash a plate, so you got dirty, right. And therefore, the subject of cleaning yourself is much more basic to the reason that we take a shower. Just to give you an understanding of this, in the olden times, people went to the bathhouse once a month or something like that. What?
Whether they needed to or not.
Okay, I'm not right now going to get involved whether they need it or not, but I'm just saying I can't believe that there's somebody that after a week doesn't, what we would call, need a shower, okay? I'm not going to get involved in how long one can go without a shower. I'm just saying, now that means obviously they weren't taking a shower because they were dirty. They didn't mind being dirty. What?
That's how they live.
Right, and I just... Right, no, I just... No, but this is a very important idea, and people are not aware of this. I'm just going to tell you, all of you, myself included, if you had to wash your shirt by hand, you wouldn't throw it into the laundry so quickly. What? Because, the amount that we're willing to suffer has changed, because we don't suffer when we... Because what's called dirty is not the same.
Depends on how much effort.
Right. And we live in an environment that we're very clean. We don't get dirty. And therefore, even the minutest amount of dirt bothers us.
But it's not only that, it's also sanitation. 200 years ago, people were germs and everything.
And they were fine. And they were fine.
The lifespan was much shorter.
I don't think it had anything to do with germs. The germs, I don't think it had anything to do with germs. The germs, people who lived with germs, they had the antibodies for most of them. all of these issues that you're talking about, except for when the white man came to the Eskimos, so all the Eskimos died because they didn't have the antibodies for that which they have. But for, I think for most of the things, what? Yeah, it's the plastic chicken also. All right. Anyways.
Is there any difference if you wash a bone as far as using soap or hot water?
That's the same question.
Same thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Shalom diet, a consideration here, because I think everyone is sharing a room with someone else, and that particular feminine person is very particular.
Okay, if you have a person in your room that's offended by your lack of showering, you're allowed to take a shower.
Other tools on how to shower.
Suddenly tell her to be very
Now, I didn't say, I want you to know that I'm a makel. I didn't say find yourself a different room to sleep in. I could have said that, right?
I was waiting for the couch.
Yeah.
No, if you don't have a taina, that smell is kadosh. Because I'm doing a mitzvah.
I'm not sure about that.
There's no mitzvah being done by smelling. That's not, you're makayim halacha by not taking a shower, but you're not doing any mitzvah. Okay, a person who would be able to go through the 9 days and not shower and not smell, he did not do any less. There's no need to.
If he wasn't not comfortable.
Right. There's no inyan to be not comfortable.
Now, why do we not shower? Please, can you let us fill the deck? I thought you covered all the bases of why we don't shower. Just now. So why don't we shower?
Because you're not supposed to be involved in luxurious activities.
It's not the result. Nothing to do with the result.
Zero.
So because now that it's not considered luxurious, then it's...
That's right. That's right. I'll just tell you, I read from Rav Henkin, who he died in 1960, 1967 or something like that. His, in America today, the need to take showers all the time, was already quite aware of that. This is a very important nekuda that I would say that most people have a need to take showers. That need did not exist 100 years ago. It didn't exist. All right. There's another thing which I would like to share with you, and people are not aware of. The halacha that you have to prepare your clothing does not apply to clothing only. It applies to towels, to tablecloths. It applies to everything. You're not supposed to be using things that are, not that are freshly laundered. So then you're in a situation. If you don't have, so then you use. But that's it. What?
When it's unbearable already, then...
Right.
If you only have a clean tablecloth, it's better to put a plastic over it?
I would say technically that would probably be better. I don't think that the plastic tablecloth is anything. That's.
You don't have to prepare the plastic.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. What? Are you allowed to buy one? I think so. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go to Sifyud. Now, Yesh mi she'omer she'nogen shel lechol basar bayom haniskarim, mutarim betavshil she'nizbashel bo basar, v'asurim bebasar oif. You're allowed to have, according to the Mechaber, you're allowed to have tavshil she'nizbashel bo basar. That means you could have the cholent without the meat. Okay?
You cooked it with the meat, but you eat
Right.
it and you eat the
Right.
rest of it.
The potatoes, okay?
The same chicken soup without the chicken.
The same thing. At the Shittas HaMechaber. U'mutir lishtas yayin l'avdala b'birchas hamazon. V'nogem ma'achver shel lishtas yayin b'birchas hamazon v'lo b'avdala. El anoisi l'tinuk. We give it to tinuk. I would just like to say that in my house, I drink the havdalah. Because to give it to tinuk, you have to have a tinuk who is exactly the age that he's old enough that he's a gil chinuch, and not old enough a gil chinuch to the churban, which is basically only 2 years, somewhere between 7 and 9. So if you don't have a kid in that age, you're better off. You should just drink it yourself. Okay, we'll stop over here.